Welcome to this week's episode of The Savvy Author. I am literary consultant and your host for the show, Clara Rose. If you've not been with us before, let me be the first to welcome you to The Savvy Author Show. Each week, I talk about topics that you, as an author or aspiring author, care about. All the moving pieces and parts to getting from idea about a book to published author, actually selling your books and making a difference in the world around you. So join us every week, same time, right here, and you will learn a ton and find out the resources you need to be a savvy author. Of course, if you've been with us before, I'd like to say welcome back, my friend. Today, we're going to hop right into a topic that's going to matter to you as an aspiring or as an author. It is one of the three phases of book creation. So, of course, if you're unfamiliar, the three phases of book creation are brainstorm and blueprint, where we analyze so that we're creating the right book for what you want it to do. Brainstorm, where we're capturing all of your ideas, and then, of course, blueprint, where we're outlining the structure for your book. And then phase two being your create and correct phase. Writing, which is putting your words on paper, right? We don't have a book if we don't actually get the writing done. And then editing, because everybody needs an editor. Formatting, getting it ready for publish, because they look a certain way, don't they? Books look a certain way when they're published. And then publish and promote, which is the final phase of the three phases of book creation. The first being publish, and understanding your options being so important. Promote, which is getting the word out, and sell. So an ongoing plan for sales. So those are the three phases of book creation. And today we're going to talk about one that you may not have considered. It's actually a part of the publish and promote piece. So when we talk about promoting, getting the word out, different things might come to mind for you than the topic that we're going to cover today. But I promise you this one is really important. We're going to talk about your brand. Yes, your brand, because your brand really does matter. And yes, you are a brand. Now, as an aspiring author or a new author, you may not have thought of yourself as being a brand. You think a brand is like Coca-Cola or Nike or Target or some large corporation. But when you author a book, you put your name on the book, you put your picture usually on the back of the book. Often there is a little bio about you, and indeed in the back of the book there is an about page or about the author space as well. So your name, you're attached to this book, this printed work for life, right? So how you come across as a brand becomes important. So if you could start to think of yourself as a brand, not just an author, it's going to help you as you look to promote your book. Does that make sense? Let's talk about a little more in depth what I mean. I'm really talking about brand authenticity, your brand that's true to who you are. Now, when we create a book, if you were one of my clients, we create a book together, we would talk about what you're going to do with this tool, because a book is really just a tool. What you're going to do with it in your business, your ministry, your cause, if you're leaving a legacy, whatever it is that you're doing with this tool we're creating, we would be talking about brand authenticity, making it congruent with either who you are or your business or your ministry or your cause. That's the brand that I'm talking about. And authenticity is just such an important piece. So brand authenticity really is the foundation of a healthy and strong reputation. A healthy brand with a strong reputation is being authentic to who you are, staying true to that. And I'd like to just say, the more strategic, the more intentional you are about it, the savvier you are going to be about matters of authenticity. So here's my savvy tip for you. Be who you are. Authenticity will serve you well, but deception is really hard to recover from. Think about someone that maybe you've known over the years who's been in the limelight, an influencer, if you will, who did something or act in a way that caused damage to their reputation. How much effort did it take, do you think, for them to restore, repair that damage to their reputation? That's what I'm talking about with brand authenticity. When you damage your reputation by not being authentic to who you are, or by doing something that you ought not have done, the process of recovery can be slow and it can be impossible. So that's just my savvy tip for you right there, is that be intentional right up front, be who you are, rather than have to try and recover later. Okay, we don't have a ton of time today, and I have quite a few things to cover, so let's move on. Let's talk about the things that really matter. What matters when you're talking about your brand and authenticity? Well, there are three things that I think matter the most: fake, words, and culture. And of course, you will hear me say this over and over, but true authenticity is a strong foundation. These are the things you're going to need to be looking at and caring about it. Not being fake, the words that you use, and the culture that you create. So let's dive into those one at a time so you have a better understanding of them. Fake. Fake matters. Matters that are fake. That's what I'm talking about. It's not always obvious at first, but in time, the truth is going to be revealed. It's very hard to recover from a deception, so just don't have deceptive practices. Here's an example for you. For instance, I followed an influencer for a number of years because I loved the message that they consistently put out there. It was a message that was congruent with who I was as a person. I related to their brand that they were creating. I related to who they were as an influencer. And I was a loyal, raving fan, which we all love those people, right? Those people that are diehard raving fans. And that was me for sure. And then one day, this person said something that completely threw me for a loop. It was actually horrible. The thing they said was horrible and ugly and mean and racist and was just super upsetting to me. I don't think that it was authentic to who they were as a person necessarily, or perhaps I'm wrong. Maybe they hit it really well, and that day they were having a bad day, and then all of a sudden the truth came out. I like to think that the latter isn't true, but I stopped following that person. I stopped paying attention to that influencer when I started to see a fakeness. Had been a facade, and then over time, I think they became more comfortable, and the facade came down. And pretty soon, I realized, oh, that other stuff was just fake. So for me, as a follower, as a raving fan, there was no recovery from that, in my opinion. So I moved on. Now, I don't know how many other people felt the same way about it, but that just brings my point home. Fake does matter. In time, it will find you out. So just be authentic from the get-go, and you don't have to worry about that. Okay. Next, word matters. Let's talk about words. Now, words absolutely have power. The written and the spoken words can have a lasting impact, and people are always going to remember how you made them feel. There's a famous quote around that, actually. Remember that the printed word and video can last absolutely forever. So here's my savvy tip for you. Be intentional about the words that you use. They have the power to create or destroy, and they can live forever. A good example is somebody maybe in your childhood who said something to you or about you that you overheard that changed the way you thought about yourself, that changed your perception of who you were as a person. Perhaps it was a parent who wasn't intentional about how they talked to you. Perhaps it was a teacher. I can remember when my little brother, who's quite a bit young, 10 years younger than I am, he came home from school one day and he was like maybe 5 or 6 years old. So, and we were really close because, I was the cool big sister. Came home and said, my teacher thinks that I'm stupid. I'm like, what? Your teacher does not think you're stupid. Oh yeah, she said that she didn't think God gave me a brain. And I'm like, well, I was super upset by that. And he was really impacted by the fact that his teacher thought that he was stupid. That was really upsetting to him. What she had said was probably not, you're stupid, but the words that she had used impacted him. So those were words that had power over him. Another great example that I like to use when I am out and about talking about such things, maybe at a networking event or when I'm speaking, is the power that the words had over me when I was probably first grade-ish, when we were first learning to read. We had our very first assignment, our oral reading assignment. And I have always been that person that said, ooh, I'll go first, right? Mostly just get it out of the way, right? I don't have a fear of being that first person. So I was the first person to read, and I practiced I read Where the Wild Things Are. If you remember that book, I practiced, and I gave my oral reading, my presentation, and when it was over, that was just silent. And the teacher looked at the other teacher and said, wow, I wouldn't want to follow that. She was really amazing. And I'm like, hey, I'm good at this, right? So there's an instance where the power of that, she wasn't talking to me, she was talking to someone else, but the power of those words shaped who I was as a young person, who I was, what I thought of my ability to read out loud, to give a presentation, to, hey, I'm good at this, right? And it has really shaped the rest of my life, where some children may have been just a brand new reader, or they didn't have, the confidence to read out loud, whatever it was, that response may have made a difference in their life, made it long haul in their education. Anyway, just to say that, to point out that words do have power to create, and they have power to tear down and destroy. They can live forever when we're talking about the written word, which of course is what we're here talking about today as an author. The words that you put out there have the power to create or destroy. So I encourage you to be careful and intentional and strategic about what you put out there. Words have power. They make a difference. Words matter. Not just the spoken word, but the written word as well. Okay, let's move on to the next one, and this is culture. Culture matters. Now, you probably think that culture is just for companies. I'd like to suggest that you are creating a culture in the tribe of people that are starting to follow you as an author. You can allow the culture of your brand to be created organically, just naturally occurring, but you might not like the results that you end up with. So here's my savvy tip for you. Be strategic about the culture that you want to create for your brand. Create it intentionally now, or try to fix it later at twice the cost. Here's a good example of culture issues. A company probably several years ago now actually invited me to come in and speak to their company about their culture. They had a lot of bickering and a lot of complaining and a lot of just animosity in their staff. There was, it was ugly. It was really ugly stuff. And somehow along the way, they had created a culture where ratting each other out to the upper bosses was not only acceptable, but encouraged. So saying bad things about each other became the culture. People looked for ways to tear each other down, to build themselves up. It became quite an ugly thing, and the company ultimately decided, hey, we got to get a handle on this because our attrition rate, our turnover is killing us financially. If you're not a business owner and you've never owned a business, you may not understand that every time somebody leaves and you have to replace them, it's a financial burden. There's a cost associated with finding, vetting, hiring, onboarding and training every new person that comes into your business. So for them, it was had become quite expensive as a company. So they brought me in to figure out what was going on. Now, I don't do that kind of work anymore, but I learned so much about culture during that time period when I was working with companies. You can create your own culture around your company or your brand or your ministry or your cause, whatever it is that you're building out in the world, and using your book to build it. Whatever it is you're doing out in the world, you can let your brand create itself. Or you can intentionally and strategically build a brand that you're after. And that starts with understanding what you want your company to look like, or in this instance, what does your brand look like? What do you want the people who become a part of your tribe, what do you want them to look like? What do you want them to feel like? Who do you want them to be? What kind of culture do you want to create for them? I personally love coffee cultures. I'm a coffee snob. If you follow me on social media, you know that probably 50% of my posts are about coffee and my love of coffee. And in fact, at one point, my daughter and I owned a coffee shop for a few years. Coffee and books, and I just love the whole coffee culture. Kind of grew up in it, and I just love it. I love the feeling that comes from going into a little mom and pop coffee shop, the smell of coffee, the sounds, the intentional music, the intentional way the seating is set up, the lighting, all of that culture is created on purpose to give a feeling that people who come there want. If you're a drive-through of the coffee shop person, you're probably not as attached to that culture that going in and sitting down and experiencing that cup of coffee is associated with. But I'm totally that person. I want to go in, I want to sit down, and I don't want it in a paper cup. I want it to be cupped in ceramic, and I want it to be beautiful, and I want it to have beautiful foam on the top. That's a culture that I love. The same thing is true in any business or any brand that you create. You want to create things that attract people to it, and things that are going to keep your employees engaged and happy. A culture where perhaps a company could encourage other people or employees to find something wonderful, something good about another one of their fellow employees and report on that, right? Give them benefits, give them some sort of bonus for saying, hey, good job, so-and-so, and pointing it out to everyone else. Wow, she's really good at X, or, this guy is really amazing at that. Those are intentional ways to build your brand and a culture to be exactly what you want it to be. Now, if you're just a brand new author, maybe you're coming out with your first book and you haven't really started to attract a tribe of potential readers. I like to call them a tribe because they kind of just become these followers. It's kind of a term that's being used a lot, but it's kind of your tribe. It's your group of potential readers, people who fall in love with your writing, maybe your style, maybe the genre that you write. This, of course, happens to be a business book, but I have authors who write fiction, for instance. And I'm sure that if you are a writer, you are probably a reader, you probably love to read books as well. You also may have a favorite author. I personally buy anything that Michael Hyatt comes out with. I love his writing style. It's not fiction, but he is educating, and I just connect with his personality in his writing, I guess. I buy everything that comes out that he does. I have a few authors that are that way. If they come out with a new book, I don't even need to know what it's about. I know it's going to be amazing. I know I'm going to love it. I know I'm going to buy it. Those are the people that we're after, right? They have created cultures and works that I connect with, and I'm almost certain that that was probably intentional. In my own business, it's very intentional that I attract people who have a love of books, have a love of writing, have a desire to do something in the world and make a difference in the world around them, in fact. So probably 80%, 75 or 80% of my clients have a business, ministry, or cause where they make a difference in the world around them. And the book that we create together is just the tool that they're going to use to organically generate those leads that's going to bring more customers, more leads into their business, ministry, cause, or brand. And so those are the people that I attract with the culture that I've created super, super intentionally, right? Those are the people that I want to work with. Those are the people who share the same heart that I share. And so to me, it makes sense to build a culture where it's going to invite them and they're going to want to be a part of my culture. So think about your book that you are creating or you've already created. Who are your readers? What brand are you creating around the book that you created or that you're creating? Who are the people? What culture are they going to connect with? And now we can talk about building it intentionally, building it strategically, being savvy as an author so that your brand authenticity is what's going to attract the right people. Okay. So we've talked about brand matters, and those are, just as a recap, not being fake, how important that is. And then, of course, word matters, the things that we say and the power that our words have with them inherently, whether it's written or spoken in a book or on video. And then company or brand culture and how important it is to proactively create the right culture around your brand so that you're actually attracting the right people. And then, of course, my favorite savvy tip, for weeks I've been saying this, true authenticity is your strong foundation. Okay, I'm going to just really quickly go over something. Oh, wait a minute. I can't even talk about that yet. First, I have to say everything does matter, right? Everything matters. From start to finish, all of the pieces of the creation of your book matters. That's why I wrote the series, Everything Matters. Finding the right people and the right education to help you and support you in your efforts and help you protect your rights as a new author is super important. So my savvy tip there is always find a successful mentor who can walk this journey with you. Now, of course, I do offer those mentoring services, but there are many people out there who offer those services as well. Look for somebody who fits with you. Look for somebody who has the right culture in their organization. If you are trying to make a difference in the world around you and you need a book as a tool to organically generate leads for that, I might be a great fit for you. And I would invite you to have a conversation with me. And you can do that by going to clararose.com/waitlist. clararose.com/waitlist. And that's going to give you, it's not going to put you on my mailing list. It's just going to give you an email the next time the Savvy Author Mentoring Program is open for new students. If you want to just have a conversation, feel free to go to my website. There's also a place where you can just pop onto my calendar and get an appointment where we can spend 30 minutes talking about what it is you're trying to accomplish and see if we are a good fit to work together. If you are a good fit for my culture and I'm a good fit for your project, perhaps we'll work together. If you'd like to work one-on-one, we can work one-on-one, but some of my most successful authors have been through the Savvy Author Mentoring Program. And let me just tell you a little bit about it before I'm totally out of time. The Savvy Author Mentoring Program is the first of its kind to give you the full blueprint for creating a successful book, plus education and accountability to get it done. It works because there's a seasoned literary consultant and editor who guides you every step of the way. That's me. No more wondering where to start or writing yourself into a corner or having a half-finished manuscript that you have no idea how to finish. We teach you everything that you need to know about the front matter, the core content of a book, the back matter of your book, and we help you build a solid structure for a successful book. It doesn't happen by accident. And then our brainstorming process actually pulls together all of your thoughts into a plan for your manuscript. It's important to have a cohesive message in your book that readers are going to enjoy, right? That pulls them through whatever you're trying to say. Your blueprint becomes the outline and your table of contents for the book, and it becomes a step-by-step map for successfully writing your book. Then all you have to do is follow the blueprint and just write. So we educate you about publishing options, and we guide you through editing and formatting and the publishing process. So you'll learn how to launch your new book and get set up to make sales. Accountability, of course, is built right into the process. The writers group works together to encourage each other, and we work together towards getting the writing done. And the collaborations that have come out of it have been amazing. So no matter where you are on your journey, the Savvy Author Mentoring Program can help you to plan, write, publish, and launch your book. So if you have been struggling for a while to get that idea out of your head and to get it published, this could be the answer for you. The Savvy Author Mentoring Program is currently closed to new students, but after the first of the year, it will open back up again for a limited number of students. And if you're truly ready to make that next step and get your book out of your head and get it published and onto shelves, this program might be the answer for you. I'd like to just open the invitation up right now to get on the waiting list. Once again, it's clararose.com/wait list. Wait list. Pop in your name, your email, and I will send you an alert when it's time for the doors to open again. Okay. Quickly before I go, I just want to say thank you so much for coming every week and joining me on this journey as I help people become a more savvy author. If you are interested in having me review one of your books, because occasionally I'll do a review, if your book is already published, you can hop over to my website and find the information on how to submit that book over to me. Go to clararose.com. You can also drop me an email at hello@clararose.com, and I'd love to chat with you. And if you are an influencer and you're looking for another place to talk about your book, I'd love to have you on my show. I do about once a month have somebody on the show who is an influencer who has written a book who would like to talk about it, get some more exposure for themselves, and I love to meet new people. So if that sounds like you, hop over to my website. Let's hop on a discovery call or shoot me an email and we'll talk about getting you on the show. I am out of time, my friends, but thank you for being here every week. I appreciate you. I will see you next week on another episode of The Savvy Author.